buenas tardes a todos. Es un placer estar aquí con vosotros porque me encanta mi trabajo, me encanta el mundo de la traducción y me encanta conocer a mis colegas. Y por eso quería hablar de Making Your Name. Eso significa destacaros en la industria. Algo muy difícil. ¿Cómo? Okay. No? Okay. Bueno, Making Your Name, eso significa destacaros en la industria. Algo muy difícil debido al carácter aislado del trabajo del traductor. Se trata de tener impacto, aportar valor y demostrar lo que podéis ofrecer a la industria. Voy a dar esta presentación en inglés por dos razones. Primero, para añadir un poco de variedad lingüística a la jornada. Y segundo, porque mis habilidades de entender castellano hablado son, por desgracia, un poco limitadas. Y por eso solo soy traductor, no intérprete. Antes de cambiar a inglés, os invito a utilizar el hashtag #MakeYourNameExcellate junto al de Traduemprende para tuitear lo que más os guste de la presentación y los consejos que os resulten más útiles y todo eso. Bueno, conocimos la presentación Making Your Name in the Translation Industry. Right, so first of all, well, Herminia gave an introduction to me in Spanish, just again in English. I'm a graduate of modern languages from Newcastle in the northeast of England. I studied French, German, Spanish, and Catalan. I currently work as an in-house senior translator at an agency called Eclipse Translations, but I promise you we are one of the good guys. We fulfill LSEO's 4 criteria of a test translation. So I know you hear horror stories about some of the agencies, but we are one of the good ones. I specialise in mainly marketing and business texts. I have some experience in certain areas of legal and technical documents as well, all into English. So that's what I do Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Outside of that, I like to maintain an online presence under the name Lloyd Translates. So you can find me blogging about translation and language on my website and tweeting a lot as well. And why I do this is simple: to engage with the translation community, keep up to date with new developments. So I'll briefly just run over what we're going to look at in this presentation. It might be useful for us to look at what making your name actually means. Then we'll look at specific ways on how you can make your name in the industry, such as using your brand on social media, in the field, on your website, on your CV, and more. I appreciate I'm sharing some of the same subjects as other people today. Hopefully we'll have different insights and different advice to offer you though. So, what does making your name actually mean? Rather than me tell you what it means, I thought it might be useful for me to ask our colleagues on Twitter and Facebook what making your name means to them. So, Emmeline Jamoul, who is a freelance translator based in Brussels, said being freelance can get pretty lonely. So it's important to support each other instead of seeing each other as competition. So, for Emmeline, making your name in translation means being there to support your colleagues in translation, who, in return, will help to support you. Our very own Gabriel Cabrera said, das la oportunidad a tus colegas y clientes de interactuar contigo. Es un valor añadido a tus servicios. So, for Gabrielle, it's about giving your colleagues and your clients a chance to interact with you, to share knowledge and information. Herminia said, making your name means being yourself, being known for your singularity. There's only one me. That little sentence at the end, I think, sums it up. There's only one me. That means making your name is all about being known for your unique qualities, what you can offer the translation industry that no one else can. Silvia Tornos, who is a translator based in Barcelona, said, I guess by making a name, I aim at getting contacts and learning from others. So it means knowledge to me. So for Sylvia, it's about building up your network of contacts, interacting with your network of contacts, and sharing knowledge with those who have come to know you. Transpremium, which is a network of freelance translators based in Dubai, said making your name means credibility and a good reputation. It also means accountability. The three keywords there: credibility, reputation, accountability. But the keyword I'd like to pick up on the most is reputation. Making your name is not just about building up a reputation, but actively shaping your reputation according to how you want to be known, what you want to be known for. Sophia Lönnroth, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said it's extremely important for us freelancers to build our brand, to differentiate ourselves. And the key word there, I think, is brand, something all freelance translators have. It doesn't matter if you don't have a website or if you don't have a logo at this stage. A brand is merely a visual and mental perception of you and your business. So it's important to make your name using your brand in order to stand out in the industry. Finally, Sarah Appleby, who is a German to English translator based in the UK, said making your name is just one part of creating a sustainable business model. It's also about giving something back to the profession, as well as finding more of the work I enjoy. So, in the years to come, if you're still a translation student or new to the industry, in the years to come, when you have established yourself, built up your brand, you will then be in a position to share your knowledge and your advice with the industry. If you already have a few years of experience, you may already be in a position to do that. So, there are many benefits to making your name. First and foremost, it helps to increase colleagues' awareness of you as a translator within the industry. This means it will help colleagues to find you. In turn, this will make it more likely for you to find opportunities for collaboration in whatever form they might be. You might wish to build up your own personal network of colleagues who can maybe take on work for you when you've got enough on yourself, or who work in different language pairs, different specialisms, and so on. So making your name is good for business. Making your name means you have a platform to share your knowledge. You may be able to offer new insights and points of view to the translation industry. In turn, this is about improving your contribution to the industry in the form of blog posts, tweets, and your physical presence at events like Traduemprende as well. Consequently, this decreases the isolation that freelance translators inevitably experience. It can be lonely working alone, but making your name helps you to be connected with the rest of the translation community online. That's what it's all about. Now we'll look at ways how you can go about making your name. Firstly, using your brand. And this part of the presentation builds on a presentation given at Traduemprende back in May in Madrid by Valeria Aliperta. Valeria talked about the importance of building a brand and identity for yourself in order to stand out as a translator. I'm going to talk about branding yourself as just one of the elements of making your name. So how it fits into the overall scope of standing out. And the two words that sum up this entire section are brand yourself. It doesn't matter who you are or how many there are of you in your translation company, from 1 to 100. A brand is an absolutely fundamental aspect to standing out in the industry. It sets you apart as a unique individual, and it's something by which everyone else perceives you. And brands sell. That's why large corporations spend so much money on building up their brand and maintaining it, because it makes them more visible and brings in more clients. Now, the front to any brand is a logo. And a logo is a visual representation of who you are and what you do. So when it comes to designing yours, it should say everything about what you do and who you are. Even though I'm an in-house translator, I still have a logo anyway to represent my online activity. And my logo contains just 3 elements. Firstly, my name, Lloyd. Many translators brand themselves using their name, Leon Hunter, for example, or just using their initials. Secondly, translates. It's important for translators to know I'm one of them. And together, the two words encompass the idea Lloyd translates. Very simple. Thirdly, you have the 5 flags icon to get across the languages I work with. So, the idea of my logo is that for the first time, when people see it, they know who I am and what I do. If something based on your name isn't for you, then why not base it on your interests or your location? Rainy London, for example. Or something based on language. Want words or speech marks are examples of that. And if you're stuck for ideas, why not ask your friends to sum you up, to define you using keywords, and incorporate those words into a logo. And remember, there are professional designers out there who can help you, so you're not alone. But when it comes to designing your logo, remember to keep it catchy, keep it straightforward, keep it relevant. A strong, powerful, captivating logo will help to set you apart from the thousands of translators there are in the world and will make it easier for you to make your name. I'm going to cover social media now. I know Alessio went into quite a bit of detail on there, but it does differ somewhat. So, these days using social media to get your name out there, it's a no-brainer. It's pan comido. It's one of the easiest ways to increase visibility of yourself. And it's one of the most fun ways to do it too, I think. Because all you're really doing is socializing and sharing and communicating, whilst at the same time making people aware of your presence. The power of social media to reach people, to reach your target audience, is uncontested. Think of all the promotion that was done for this conference with Traduemprende using social media. The 8 speakers were all selected via a vote, solely using social media. So social media are a marketing tool, and a free marketing tool as well. Now, Twitter is, I would say, by far the best way to interact with the translation community in terms of making your name. This is because Twitter allows you to connect with translators who are already established in the industry. You can share information and articles about the industry, ones you come across, ones you write yourselves as well, and find translators who may be willing to act as mentors. If you're still studying translation, or you're new to the industry, it's very easy to find established translators on Twitter who can pass on their knowledge and their advice to you. And to do this, search for and use the hashtag XL8. If you don't already know, this is the hashtag that the translation community uses to mark their posts to say they're relevant to translation. So all you do is, when you get to the search bar on Twitter, if you type that in, that's how you find translation-related material and translators. Now, there are other forms of social media: Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. Alessio covered them pretty well, I think. I think we share the same opinion on Google+. But I'm just going to focus on Twitter, in this presentation at least, for the purpose of making your name. Now, the fundamental principle behind making your name in the translation industry, I'm sorry for those of you who are already on Twitter and know how it works, but for those of you who are not on Twitter, it's very important that we're all on the same page, and I just want to show you how important it is for translators and how it works. The fundamental principle behind Twitter for translators is that you share relevant material, articles, blog posts that you come across, and you post your own original material as well, your own ideas and insights into the translation industry, and updates about what you're doing that's relevant to the translation industry. If you do this and you retweet relevant material, this helps you to stand out as a key driver of the translation community, as someone knowledgeable in the industry. In turn, this increase in presence, this increase in visibility, will mean that other industry members will start to notice you and will start to retweet your posts and ultimately recommend you as a translator. This theory isn't too dissimilar from Isaac Newton's theory, because for every action, you have an equal and positive reaction. Your actions on Twitter, your tweeting, your constant sharing of information will lead to reactions, an increase in visibility, and will make it easier for you to make your name. It's a continuous cycle of activity, and it's also like a snowball effect. If you think of your Twitter activity as a snowball, the more and more snow you add, the more active and present you are on Twitter, the bigger the snowball becomes, the more engaged you will be in the translation community. Now, making your name in the field. What can you do within the context of your day-to-day work to make your name? How can you use your specialisms or your unique selling points to stand out? So, if you're still a translation student or you're new to the industry, you may still be finding your feet. You may lack a sense of direction. You may not know what you and your translation business want to be known for. But a general pattern is that every translator or translation business can be associated with a certain area of knowledge or expertise. Something they feel passionate about, something they talk a lot about, something they become well known for within the industry. On Twitter, it's easy to identify such translators as they quickly become known as reference points, as sources of knowledge for a certain subject. Let's look at some examples. There are many translators who tweet about a certain specialism, such as Estelle Magnier, who posts a lot about her specialism, literary translation. Equally, there are translators who talk a lot about legal translation, technical translation, financial translation, and so on. There are many names that come to mind as reference points on certain translation and language issues, from how to work well with translation agencies, who talk about continual professional development, or in my example, the issue of translators' rates of pay, which Rose Newell talks a lot about on Twitter. Indeed, certain translators stand out as campaigners on behalf of the rest of their colleagues for certain issues. Another example, Uwe Muger is well known for tweeting a lot about translation events and vacancies within the industry, such that when my company had a vacancy for a proofreader, I immediately knew to go to Uwe to ask him if he could share this information to tweet this vacancy, because I know many of his followers follow him for that very purpose, because he consistently tweets about translation events and jobs. A couple more examples. There are a few translators who are well-known reference points for the business aspects of translation. The first name that would come to my mind is Marta Selmajak, who actually runs an online business school for translators. And her blog is packed full of useful advice on these business aspects for translators. And that's how she is making her name in this context, by picking a theme, tweeting a lot about it, and such that many people know to go to Marta if they would like some advice on the business side of translation. My final example, there are certain Twitterers who are known for sharing glossaries and sharing reference material with their colleagues. So if I'm working on a certain job and I want to know if there's a terminology list or a glossary that may help me on my certain project, I know to go onto Twitter and look at the Alexandria Project, because the Alexandria Project consistently and frequently tweets about translation glossaries and reference material with links to these resources. So hopefully you should be able to see that making your name in this context, in the field, is about sharing your knowledge. Knowledge that's relevant to the industry. Knowledge that maybe you and only a handful of other people may know. Be consistent about what you share. Pick a certain area or subject. As we've just seen, it could be related to your specialisms, to your type of experience, or your interest in certain translation issues. Why not create hashtags for this very purpose? A couple of examples. Sarah Colombo created her own hashtag, Balance Your Words, to tweet about maintaining a good work-to-life balance for translators, and generally with good tips for translators, in this case, writing. The DWD, the German Association of Freelance Translators and Interpreters, created the hashtag ProudXL8 as part of their campaign to encourage translators to demonstrate pride in their profession. So anyone in this room, anyone in the world can create a hashtag. And by using it frequently and consistently, it can catch on very easily. Making your name on your website. Translators love having a blog, and translators love reading blogs by other translators. These days, with the translation community being based largely online, it's important to have a blog, to share information on the industry, to offer opinions and insights on various aspects of translation, and to raise awareness about potential problems within the industry as well. With so many translators having a website, having a blog, you may wonder, is it worth me having a blog? As it may be difficult for me to make my blog stand out above the rest. But each translator's blog, in my opinion, does offer something different. Even if lots of you are talking about the same subject related to translation on your blog, we all have different experience, different backgrounds, and different opinions that shape our insights into these issues. Much like the previous topic, make your name in the field, you can have a blog and use it to make your name for a specific reason. Let's look at some examples from our colleagues. Catherine Christaki of Lingua Greca, for example, is known for publishing a long list, and I mean a very long list, of translation-related articles and blog posts that she finds every single week. So Catherine does this consistently, every week, as I said, and that's how she has become known as a point of reference in the industry to find the highlights of the week's translation blog posts and articles. So if a translator has had a particularly busy week and hasn't spent much time reading these articles, they know where they can go to catch up on this material. Jane Fox is quite well known for her website on upskilling as translators, and she frequently publishes blog posts on how to do that, particularly using CAT tools. Jane will talk about the benefits of a certain CAT tool over another in one blog post, and in another blog post she'll talk about some features of Trados Studio that we don't know much about. But because Jane publishes these types of posts so frequently and consistently, translators know to go to Jane's website for information on upskilling as a translator using translation technology, and crucially, written from a translator's point of view. A final example, Jill Sommer is well known for her blog, which publishes a sort of a cartoon or an illustration every week. It's called Almost Wordless Wednesday, and it's just a cartoon that English-speaking translators can relate to. Here's one from the 2nd of October that I quite like because it makes sort of a common grammatical error that native English speakers make, and it reads, every time you use an apostrophe to make a word plural, a little puppy dies. So, I thoroughly recommend having space in your lives for a blog. And the most important thing to make your name in this context is to be consistent. Be consistent in your blogging, be consistent in the type of material you share. It's best often to choose a subject you're interested in, or one that you know a lot about, or both. But here are some pointers on to help you decide how to define your website. Firstly, think about the audience of your blog. Who do you want your audience to be? Okay, it'll be translators, but translators of a particular language combination, translators of a particular nationality, translators with a certain specialism or with a certain amount of experience. You could target your material at translators new to the industry or more experienced translators. Think about the language you want to write your blog in. Usually it's your native language, but you might want to write in one of your working languages to reach another audience. Think about the content. Will the content be related to your linguistic interests? Do you want to write about your specialisms? Or do you want to write about things that are particular to one of your languages, either your native or one of your working languages? interactivity. How interactive do you want your blog to be? Do you want people to be able to post on your website and leave comments? Do you want people to be able to tweet or share on Facebook your content automatically by including those little buttons you see on blogs? Frequency. Think about how frequent you want to post your material on your blog. Of course, consistency works in your favor, but think about the type of posts you'd like to make. Maybe a weekly post as part of a series, or independent posts that differ slightly but are still under the same consistent theme. Finally, the identity of your website. Are you posting on behalf of you as a translator or you as an individual? This depends currently on how you market yourself, as you and your translation business activities may fall under the same brand. But many translators have two different websites, one that's strictly related to their business of translation, and another for their more personal, individual thoughts on translation. Now, each and every one of these 6 points is important because they help to define your website's unique selling point. Much like a product or service that you purchase, your website should have a unique selling point, something that makes it different to every other website out there. Unlike with products and services, it's not about competition, simply about offering something different for the translation community. Next, making your name on your CV. Unfortunately, a lot of this content is similar to Alessio's, so I can run through it very quickly. Each and every one of your CVs will inevitably be different, quite rightly so, because there's no one specific way to do it, because a CV is quite a personal instrument, despite its professional purpose. Having said that, there are certain things that you can do to get the best out of your CV and to use it to make your name in the industry. I'm going to show you an example using my CV, but I fully agree with Alessio. A CV is not static, it's changing all the time. There's no single one format to do it, and of course you have to change it according to who you're targeting, agencies, clients, and the specific client, specific agency as well. So first, much like Alessio said, key information at the top: name, contact details, language pairs. Of course, your specialisms and areas of experience are what will be what you want to jump out at your clients. These two top sections are the ones that a client will probably want to focus on the most initially, and that's why they're at the top. Your education, qualifications related to both translation and languages. If this area of your CV is looking a bit empty, a bit sparse, maybe because you're still studying, remember to include any programs, any study abroad programs that you do. Maybe in a foreign country, if you maybe spent a month in London learning English. Do put that on there, because clients will still want to see your strengths in your working languages in addition to your translation skills, of course. Your translation experience. A lot of people forget to include translation work they do at university and volunteer translations, pro bono work you may do for charities and so on. And in fact, I was at a conference in London last month, and a speaker said you may not even have to mention on your CV the fact that a piece of unpaid work you did is unpaid. You don't need to say it's unpaid, because it's just as valuable as paid experience. And a lot of people forget that. They think any unpaid volunteer work that they do, they think that is somehow less valuable than any paid experience. Moving on quickly, continuous professional development that you've acquired over your translation career. And in addition to listing memberships of professional translation associations and associations related to your specialisms, this all helps you to demonstrate your willingness to develop yourself, develop new skills, add new skills as well, crucially. There's room for related experience. This is a good section if you're new to the industry, because you may not have much translation experience and translation qualifications to fill up the rest of your CV. So here you could list other experience that's still somehow related to translation. Maybe you have business, administration, organization experience. Any language-related training or placements you've done as well is all worth putting on there in the initial stages, just to take that leap of faith when you get out of university, because many new translators do worry about that, of course, not having enough experience and having sort of almost a blank CV. Finally, we have a section for odd bits of information that clients will still find useful but doesn't really fit anywhere else on the CV. Information like any IT knowledge of CAT tools, about your online presence, any additional languages as well, and responsibilities. Now, as you'll know, a CV is a marketing tool, and an important one because it's the instrument that clients will use to judge you. And that's why it's important to make your name on your CV. Some of you will have these so-called designer CVs, which I think are fantastic, and our industry certainly allows for designer CVs because the chances are that your CV will be read on a screen and not printed out. So if you have one of those, fantastic. Mine's just still in this traditional format. And again, as Alessio said, keep changing it, keep updating it, and keep orientating it towards your potential client. And I was going to mention about Marta's ebook as well, which again I'll talk about in the next section, which is the final one, any last bits and pieces that you can do to make a name in the translation industry. Many of our colleagues have written an ebook to share with their colleagues, and writing an ebook can cost nothing except time, and it's a great way to share your knowledge with the translation industry. You can create an ebook simply by using Microsoft Word or Microsoft Publisher and saving it as a PDF. You don't necessarily need any extra software or need to be an IT genius. Many translation ebooks are free, of course. Some of our colleagues do charge for them, in which case it's a bit different because you'll have to find a distributor like Amazon. And I'd say it's far more profitable for you not to charge for your ebook, to make it free, because that way it's much more likely to be shared and distributed with colleagues. Even charging €1 can put people off because there are so many free resources for translators out there. So if you want to charge for your ebook, which many colleagues do successfully, you really should have a strong case for doing so. Examples of ebooks that come to mind are Marta Stelmajak's You Need a CV That Works. I don't know any translator who would not benefit from reading this, because writing a CV is one of the most common topics for new and student translators. Luke Spear, also, I don't know if you've heard of this ebook, Build Your Business as a Translator. Luke covers many of the common topics, marketing, administration, attracting clients, resources, and so on. I thought this would be a good opportunity to plug my ebook also, the Translator Diaries. If you haven't read this, it's free and available on my website, and it's written for people like yourselves, people new to the industry and student translators. It's based on a series of interviews that I published on my website earlier this year with 14 freelance translators, and it takes extracts of advice. Show you one example, and it presents it under sort of different topics in a very friendly format. So that's available on my website if you want to have a read of it. Writing an ebook can be a good bridge to writing a printed book. Again, many of our colleagues have done this very successfully. Sarah Colombo's Balance Your Words is one that would come to mind, and The Entrepreneurial Linguist by Judy and Dagmar Vienna. So, there are a lot of ebooks for our translator colleagues, and I would not say, however, that the market for ebooks and books is saturated. There's still room for more. Indeed, many of these books are of a more general nature, so you could have an idea that focuses on a specialized area. So if you have an idea for an ebook, or even a printed book at this stage, why not put it on paper and share it with your colleagues? Our final slide, I'd encourage all of you to attend as many translation conferences, events as possible. As I said earlier, it can be quite lonely as a freelance translator, despite the help that social media can serve. It's still good for us translators to meet up in person, to share ideas and to get to know each other better. This can be in a less formal setting, such as going out for coffee on a Saturday afternoon with your colleagues, or going out for a meal. But a popular format for casual meetings between translators is a tweet-up. Play on the word meetup, of course. There's a circle of translators in London who organise these tweet-ups via Facebook or via Twitter, and any translator colleague in the area can go along. And it's very relaxed, very informal, very sociable. And because it's such a popular event, it's now spreading to other cities, to the rest of the UK, to Manchester, but the idea is also now coming onto the continent, to Brussels, but I've yet to see this format in Spain. So, wherever you may live in Spain, Madrid, Barcelona, Alicante, Valencia, I don't know, why not think about organising one of these yourselves? It's very easy, and it can have a substantial positive effect on your local translation community. Translation workshops are also a popular idea. These are usually organised by universities, translation institutions and associations and so on, and they're where translators from different places gather together to work for a day or half a day, and it's a great way of continuous professional development. But you're working with colleagues in person and developing your presence in the industry by attending or even organising these translation workshops. Why not think about organising a translation workshop yourself under your translation company's brand, which is a good way of publicity at the same time. Finally, a more formal and large-scale event is a translation conference, such as, I was going to say Traduemprende, but we're not the most formal of conferences. But certainly large-scale ones, in my opinion, are a very good initiative to bring translators together here for a day to share ideas and meet colleagues in person. I'd recommend going to as many translation conferences as you can. And think about the benefits of going to different translation conferences, because different conferences have different purposes and you'll meet different types of translators. You've all gathered here at Traduemprende today to meet largely students and translators new to the industry from Barcelona, the rest of Catalonia and the rest of Spain. But you might want to think about going to the ITI conference, the Institute of Translators and Interpreters. That's the main translation association for translators in the UK. You might want to do that if English is one of your working languages, to meet English-speaking translators. There's also the ACETRAD conference, which is a bit closer to home, to meet Spanish language translators, the MET, Mediterranean editors and translators conference as well. But different events serve different markets, so think about how the benefits, unique characteristics of each event apply to you. If you're feeling adventurous, why not organise one yourself? Of course, translation conferences do require a lot of time, effort, financial investment, but they're great for the industry and they can be great for you and your business too. Is there a geographical location being neglected by translation conferences, or a certain specialism? You can always get together with a group of colleagues to organise these if it's not something you'd like to do on your own. And remember, translators are always looking for an excuse to get together, particularly for the more social aspects, like tonight's dinner and callback. So, that's it. I hope you are now feeling inspired and empowered to go out into the translation world and make your name. I'll be happy to take any questions after Xale's talk and clarify any points or offer any advice, things like that. Muchas gracias.